Ladies and gentlemen, I have the great honor to bring and invite Don Fisher King Campbell to our Poets of the East stage. Don, welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
We only invite the best, Don. How you got in, I don't know.
Well, it's a time zone thing, is what it is. Yeah.
No, I can't say enough good about this man. Not only is a talented poet, but he is also an impresario of the literary world, bringing people together both in real life, in real space, as well as online. Your famous show every Saturday is something that those of us in the know would not want to miss, that's for sure. So,
Thank you.
as you know, Don, I ask a few questions right at the top. And to me, as wonderful as our Zoom poetry readings are, and they're wonderful. We get to hear poets from across the globe. We get to hear fresh stuff. I find it really, really energizing. The downside for me personally is that I like artists. I find their thinking, their hearts, their truths so engaging that I always feel these little 3 minute or 5 minute snippets of their experience, of their creativity, just leaves me wanting more. I want to know more about the soul that delivers this stuff. So that's why I started Poets of the East. The other reason is I worked in commercial television for a long time, and I promised myself, after all the despicable baloney and merchandising that I put together, I wanted to do something that was real. And that's where Poets of the East comes from. So, sir, my little group of questions are meant to help us understand a little bit about what built, what influences, what inspired the young man, the young poet, Don Kingfisher Campbell. So, my first question, sir, is what's the earliest book you can remember being handed?
I wasn't ready for that question. What is it again?
What is the earliest book that you can remember being handed, that you remember from your childhood?
Oh, that's easy. Key to the Treasure.
Cool, cool. Okay. Now,
It was one of those Scholastic Book Club books.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. It's
Um,
about a family. You want to know about it?
please, please.
Oh, yeah. Uh, I must have been 6 years old. And I remember this book was a hardcover, right? And it had a yellow cover, blue lettering, Key to the Treasure, and everything was drawings on the inside. It was basically about these three kids who spent summer at their grandparents' house, I guess, so the parents could have a summer for some reason. I don't remember what it was. The reason was, but I do know
Exhausted.
they had quite an adventure at their grandparents' house because there was an old well in the backyard, and there was a mystery, and they would go through the clues. And of course, you got the idea that Grandpa knew a lot about it. It kept him busy all summer, that's for sure.
Cool, cool.
So it's just enjoyable reading. It was a story I could follow and enjoy solving the mystery. It was that kind of thing. Back in 1966.
Okie doke. Now, next question. Um, did you keep some of those childhood books around?
I kept that book for the longest time, amongst other books too. There was another book I used to love. It was a paperback that I also got through Scholastic Book Services. It was called Strangely Enough, which was just a bunch of reprints of like 1 to 2 page sci-fi stories.
Oh, cool, cool.
I poured through that book over and over again. I loved it so much that I used to type up the stories so I could ditto them and give them
Yeah.
to my friends.
Oh, how nice.
That
How
was my
nice.
first venture in publishing, about the age of 10.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, my early media experience, my father had somehow got interested in audio recording when he was a young man in the Navy. So he bought a really nice Ampeg reel-to-reel tape recorder. This was around when I was, in that 5 to 9 age range. And they used to record. My father was the youngest of 9 kids, so he would record their big parties. They had regular get-togethers. For every holiday, there was a big get-together, and he would record these. And I always thought that was so cool. So for my 8th or 9th birthday, I got a little mini reel-to-reel that I could carry around a portable, and I would go around and do interviews.
And here we are.
And here we are. I haven't learned. Okay, now let me ask you this.
There must be something to this, right? To this early childhood thing. It kind of stays with us.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say, so grows the tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next. Now, we all did writing for school. It's unavoidable. But some of us got intrigued by the process, whether for journaling or diaries or stories to share with friends or some such thing. Some of us began writing for fun. Were you one of those young kids that wrote for fun?
No.
Okay.
No. I'd have to say no. I didn't even have the idea that I could do that, honestly, until I remember almost not at all. But I remember this much being in 3rd grade. And I wrote some paragraph that somehow got saved. I got a silver star for it, and basically it was a paragraph where I was writing about the future. And in the future, this was like what, 1968. So I wanted to be an astronaut. And then at the end of the paragraph, I said, after I finish being an astronaut, I'll retire in Las Vegas.
Wow, you're really thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
My parents love Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
That's probably
well,
why I said
go.
that. Yeah, maybe that
there
was why they were.
Now, let me ask you, when going back to school for a second, did you write for the school newspaper, the yearbook, the literary magazine, any of that stuff?
Let's see if I can remember. In high school, no. College, yes.
Okay. Which arena? A literary magazine?
I went to Cal State LA. I was an English major. There were only about 90 odd English majors in Cal State LA with over 30,000 students. So it was a very small department. And we had a magazine called Statement Magazine. That was the literary magazine of the school. And I remember the first time I submitted a poem for it, that was in 1981. It was soundly rejected by the editor, who wrote me a letter
Oh my!
to explain to me why I had no business writing poetry.
Oh my!
I kept the letter. I still have it.
Good for you. Good for you.
But that didn't stop me because I was in love with poetry. I've been writing poetry for 3 or 4 years at that point. So the next year, I submitted again. Every year they have a different editor. And this time they took it.
Excellent.
And I got to experience my very first poetry reading because of that. Because they have a publication reading at the library, right?
Nice.
And there were like 150 people there.
Wonderful.
I was totally petrified. Totally petrified. I could barely get the words out. But even though I did a poor job of reading my poem, they applauded anyway. And that applause felt so good. I said to myself, I could do better next time.
Very good. Very good.
That's what I remember.
Yeah, there was a quite lively literary and artistic area of Miami called Coconut Grove. And they had regular poetry readings down there. And this was, I was in my teen years in the late 60s. And there was a series of poetry contests. Now, I don't view poetry as a competitive enterprise. I think everyone has a voice. Whether it speaks to you or not is irrelevant, but everyone has a voice and every voice should be heard, in my opinion. Not everybody agrees, obviously, but I had one of the sage, wiser heads pulled me aside after my first reading. This was an anti-war piece I had read. He said, Richard, we don't rhyme anymore. So not only is it not necessary, but it's just not done. No serious poet rhymes anymore. And I said, I understand what you're saying. You know, the fashion now is not to rhyme. I totally understand that. I said, but you see, I'm not chasing fashion. I'm not chasing academia. I am following the muse. And if my muse rhymes, by God, I'm going to do it. And he said, well, And I said, thank you. I appreciate that.
You
But
would have been
anyway,
happier at Cal State LA.
I
You
bet I
would have,
would.
because two of the professors there that pretty much ran the creative writing department at Cal State LA were traditionalists. Uh, Dr. Henry Collette and Dr. Timothy Steele. Timothy Steele's famous for being one of the last true uh, proponents of rhyme. I mean, he
Oh,
knew how to
cool.
rhyme.
Cool.
And the other one was, like I said, Dr. Henry Collette. He had a book published back in 1964 called The War of the Secret Agents. It got published in the New Yorker. So he was a traditional rhyming poet, did it very well. Both of those poets did it very well. But
Well,
they didn't judge us too harshly if we didn't rhyme.
well, good. That's
Yeah, so it's kind of the
sensible.
opposite side of the coin, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I but a very funny thing happened. I ended up winning the contest, even though I was opposed to concepts in general. But I won 3 months in a row, and a gentleman came up to me afterwards and he said, "Richard, I'm a producer at the local public radio station at WLRN FM, and would you be interested in doing a radio show?" Now, immediately I understood that what he was expecting to hear was, a literary forum, a round table of poets or writers, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
But without a word, without a thought, my mouth said, "Oh yeah, I want to do a science fiction comedy show. It'll be called Martian Ambassador in the Captured Chorus." And he was taken aback. He said, "You don't want to do a poetry show?" And I said, "No, I want to do a science fiction comedy. If you want to do a project with me, I want to do a science fiction comedy called Martian Ambassador in the Captured Chorus." And he said, "Well, have you have this all planned out?" And I said, "God, no." He said, "Well, why the Captured Chorus?" I said, "Well, I have a lot of creative friends, but I don't know who's going to come on any one night. So whoever comes, they're captured." So I ended up doing a radio show, a live hour on Friday drive time. It was an
Sounds cool to me.
amazing experience. But anyway, enough about that. Okay, next. Uh, so that was your first experience performing poetry.
Yeah.
How do you feel? There's it's kind of almost an idiom now. There's page poets and performing poets. How
Mm.
do you fall across that? What do you think about that sort of concept?
Yes. How do I reconcile that? That is a difficult divide to cross. Um, I've always thought of myself as being 1 foot in each, which is a very dangerous place to be because you're not fully in either one. Yeah.
Well, I
But sometimes being a performance poet is a good thing, and sometimes being a paid poet's a good thing, and those two rivers don't cross very much.
one of the
Yeah.
most unusual poets I ever met. I was probably only 20. We were living out in Denver, and we lived in a uh, very integrated neighborhood. And almost all our neighbors were African American. And we were illegally renting a basement apartment from this young doctor and his wife. She was a radical bisexual, and he was a doctor in residence at the local hospital. And I only say that because she was an activist. She was very much involved in organizing and gay rights and uh, polyamory and all that, very much sexual revolution. This was 71, 72. And
Impressive.
it turns out that our African American neighbors would warn us, "Hey, the FBI has been around asking about your landlord, and watch out, don't watch when you come and go and all that sort of thing." And there was a gentleman in the neighborhood, a street poet, and this fella tore it up. I mean, absolutely the other end of the, this was not an academic poet by any stretch of the imagination, a street poet in the best sense of the word. And this guy would tear up rhymes. It was so impressive. I thought, man, this is good stuff. I I had been somewhat shy. When you were anti-war in those days, it was easy to talk and easy to read your work out in public, but I was a little reticent. But there were two performing artist musicians that freed me and gave me liberty to be the poet that I am today, and that's Frank Zappa and Jim Morrison of the Doors.
Oh
Those
yeah.
guys, they freed me out. So, all right, let me ask you this. When there's a place where we write because we have to write, we want to get something down, we want to say something, and then there's a place where you say, I'm a writer. This is really what I want to do. When did that, or did you know that early on?
Hmm. I have to say it was around 1994. I took a workshop with Mike Carlin, who went on to teach at Brown University. And he helped me take poetry more seriously. And he had me reading some really good stuff. It really exposed me to other sides of poetry than I'd previously encountered. And coincidentally, about the same time in 1994, I befriended a poet named Michelle Serros, who also was refreshingly different with her poetry. And it really influenced me a great deal. So I think I started taking poetry seriously about then. I was like, this can be more than I thought.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, next. Who were some of those authors that really impressed you, that really inspired you from those days?
Oh, well, that's easy to answer too, because the very first poet I fell in love with was James Tate.
Okay.
Because James Tate taught me poetry could be funny. Yeah, and still say something. So that was something I aspired to do. I wanted to write like James Tate, which was an impossible task. And then I got into the beat poets. Like I think my favorite was Gregory Corso
Mm-hmm.
for the same reasons. And I guess locally, look, like I said, Michelle Serros, deep influence at that time. And who else was a deep influence? I have to say it was Jeffrey McDaniel. I don't know if you know him. He lives on the East Coast somewhere. He teaches somewhere over there. And he was a student of James Tate.
Ah,
So he was actually a deeper poet than James Tate, because he had that element of realism that Michelle Sotos had. So I was very impressed by Jeffrey McDaniel's ability to write with the skill of James Tate, but with the seriousness, writing about serious things like Michelle Serros could do. Right? He was the combination of both. To this day, buy his books; they're fantastic.
excellent.
I
Um,
recommend The Endarkment. He's got a book called The Endarkment.
oh, the Endarkment, huh? Cool.
The
I'll check that
Endarkment,
out.
yeah, it's a great book.
I
Also,
was I was recently told, as you know, I write with a lot of humor about very serious topics,
I know.
and I had a woman mention to me. She's a well-known and respected editor around the East Coast, the Boston area. She said, Richard, if you expect to be taken seriously, you can't write humorous poetry. It's just not done. The stuff that gets people's respect is the serious, the trauma, the revelation, the difficult times that you have. If you want to be respected, you really need to write like that. And you rhyme too. In fact, the stuff you read tonight, you rhymed multiple times in one line. And I said, well, thank you. And I understand where she's coming from. I'll assume that it was a good place. And I wrote a response to it called "He lost his morose, it gave up the ghost." So one of
I got
mine.
more good news for you. Back in 19, I think it was 1996 or 1998, they did a poll with Southern California poets to ask them who their favorite poet was. You know who came in second?
No idea.
Dr. Seuss.
All right.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah,
very
the
impressive.
doctor.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a whole uh, his work really, I think, is so effective. It reaches people. Okay.
Brilliant. He was brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, when we've heard that you started performing poetry in was it high school and then college. Now, you found teachers to be supportive, or you found some supportive teachers?
Well, high school, no, because it was just in high school they made poetry sound like something that was unreachable. But in college, that's where I really learned that it was something that could be reached. And like I said, I went to Cal State LA, and there were not a lot of people, so we knew each other very well, very tight group, and so we definitely supported each other.
That's great.
I mean, it's hard for me to remember everybody's names, but there was like an older lady, really good poet. She liked my poetry too, and she told me, study some philosophy. It'll help your poetry. So I did. I followed her advice. She was right.
Cool. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you a kind of a poetry theory question. Some poets go with the idea that you should write every day. It's important to write every day just to polish a project, so that when inspiration does hit, you have that ability. You are fluid with your words. The other end of that spectrum is only write when you're inspired. Any other time, it's being forced. Where do you fall on that continuum?
Right in the middle again. I mean, I think about writing every day, but I don't do it every day. Other things get in the way. I was a teacher for 37 years, and that kept me pretty busy.
That makes you very busy. Yeah.
Yeah, but I made time. For me, if I go, it's kind of like sex. If I go a week or two without it, I need a poem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I hear you.
yeah.
Okay. Are there topics or themes that you address regularly?
Um, they always say write about what you know. That is easier to do. I've done poems where I've done research to write about something, but the ones that are the most meaningful to me personally, of course, are the ones things that I write about that I want to remember from my life. Poetry is a great way to write about things in such detail that years later you can look back on it and go, "Oh my gosh, that's what I was 20 years ago." Wow.
Okay, next. Uh, do you feel that poets have a responsibility to address contemporary societal matters?
Absolutely, yes.
Pardon me?
Yeah. Poets, who said poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the universe? I think it
Somebody
was Shelley
wise.
said that. I think it was Shelley. And so it's so true, because who else said, the truth isn't found in the news or whatever, it's in poetry. That was William Carlos Williams, was it? I think it was. He put it in different words, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That to if you can declare yourself a poet, you should be socially aware,
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
I agree. Um, if a young person were to ask you, is
Mm.
it worth it to study, to work, to write in poetry?
It's a big time yes, because it is really uh, one of the few things that makes life worth living. Who else said, you don't live, you cannot live an unexamined life. That's not living.
Yeah.
Yeah, so poetry is a great way to do that, right?
right?
Doesn't take as long as writing a novel.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, next. What makes a good poet?
That's a pretty simple formula, actually. One of the best ways to be a good poet is to read other poets. Let the osmosis happen naturally. Just read, read, read. You'll have favorites. You'll have some you don't like. That's the way it is.
Okay. Now, is narrative important for poetry?
In narrative poems, yes. Otherwise, no.
Okay.
Sorry for the simple answer.
Oh no, no, it makes sense. I come from a tradition or an ethos, I guess, where poetry at its best is telling a story that's worthwhile. The
Odyssey.
worst kind of cartoon poetry to me and to how I was raised is that stuff that sounds too esoteric, too nebulous to really caring much. But I've heard enough great poets who make what I call chime music, where they'll set a series of metaphors in front of you, and they're so exquisite. They're so not even demanding. They're so charming that you can't but follow them wherever they lead, even if it's no definite destination, you know?
And sometimes it's just like music. Some musicians, they'll go for the sound, others go for the meaning. And the best ones do both.
And now, sir, the very last, oh, wait, the next to the last question. What's on your reading desk right now?
Uh-huh. I've been reading a bunch of car poems. The deadline's today, so
Oh, okay.
yeah. So I've been catching up. So we can do the reading tomorrow. It's kind of a weird thing, I know, but I like publishing poems online because it's so easy to do. You don't have to worry about formatting, right? You can just post, 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 post. And it's like instant website,
Yep.
instant reading practically. It's like the
Well,
deadline is tonight, or the reading is tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
excellent.
Some people go,
And
how's that possible? Yes, it is possible.
if you know the medium, it is absolutely doable.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Technology working for us.
So the last question, sir, is do you have a question for me?
Hmm. Well, I enjoy your poetry as it is.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess my question would be, I hope you'll feature more Westerners. So if you have any Westerners in mind,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Well, I hope to get more of them. I had Karen Pierce
Gonzalez, yeah,
Gonzalez
she's
on
wonderful.
just recently.
Mhm.
Lovely poet, just breathtakingly good stuff. But
She
it's
breathes
funny
poetry. She really does. She breathes art. Mhm.
when I was a young man, a communard on the East Coast in Florida, people used to say, "Rick, why don't you go to California? There are people like you out there. There's wonderful, amazing artists out there. You go to California." And I said, "I totally appreciate that. I really do, and I take that with the compliment that is intended." I said, "But you know what? One of my teachers said to me, it's easy to be spiritual on the top of a mountain. It's harder to be spiritual in the suburbs, in the city." And
Very good point.
I couldn't think of Miami in other ways other than a plastic chrome cheesy place and people with
You
values
go
would
too
eat
far.
there.
I was raised in this stuff. Yeah. You know what
Sorry.
it really is? You know what it really is for all of us? We are where we come from. We really are. And that's a good thing, not a bad thing, because we're all different because of that reason. Even if you move, you still retain. where you've been.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
Mhm.
grew up in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, where the rivers were multicolored, oranges, reds, purples, blacks,
Mhm.
whites. So when
Mhm.
the river caught fire downstream from us, we weren't surprised at all. But it certainly gave me a yearning to support environmental improvement. That's for sure.
Or you-
Now is my favorite part of the show when I
Uh-oh.
turn to my guest and say, brother, the mic is yours. Read, enjoy yourself, read your favorite poems, read the long pieces you don't get a chance to do very often. Have fun.
Here we are. That was easy. I think I'll start with something early.
Nice
Others,
color choices.
yeah. So these come from poems from one century to the next, 125 poems from 1981 to 2004, the early days. And basically, what I'm going to ask you to do is give me a number between 1 and 125, and I'll read that poem.
Okay, 124.
Ooh, wow. I got to scroll down. Ooh, 124.
Look at
Here we go.
that. All right.
Yeah, this poem is a true story. You might have heard of Whittier Boulevard, August 29th, 1970. Very famous historical date. This is my poem of my experience about that when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
Thousands march in the street, fists pump, signs into the air, batons club back, protesting arms, hands hurl bottles and stones at official prejudice. Tear gas canisters explode in bar windows. We can see it all on TV. My father says he has to go there. We cry we love him as he opens the door because he wears the brown sheriff's jumpsuit. We wonder if we will ever hold him alive again, but his name is not Ruben Salazar, so he lives to see an undeclared war end. It's kind of
Very
political.
powerful, sir.
Yeah, that was my experience. And interestingly enough, uh, I went to Garvey Junior High School, and so did the poet laureate of Los Angeles a few years back, Luis J. Rodriguez.
Hmm.
He was a couple years ahead of me, so we never met at the school. But decades later, at the Pasadena Library, we were both booked to read at the library. And then we realized we went to the same junior high.
Wow.
So we had a little bit of a friendship going there. So he would invite me to readings. And then one day he wrote about Whittier Boulevard, August 29th, 1970. I said, I have a poem on that too. Of
Wow.
course, we had two
Nice.
very different points of view, right? He had the point of
Sure.
view of being one of the people in the streets, and I had the
Yeah.
point of view of being a 10-year-old kid at home waiting for dad to come home.
Yeah.
All right, so it's really a great way to show the two sides of that coin.
Right.
Now, this one comes with a sensitive content warning. Oh, my. But I can live with that. I wrote it. How to share.
Well, this is a free speech zone.
All right, how's that for a title?
There we go. Yeah.
Spoken word. So these are the poems that are got one foot in the spoken word scene.
Uh-huh.
This was back in the 90s. It was probably the peak period for spoken word in Los Angeles. There were places you could read every day of the week,
Wow.
venues all over Southern California. It was really a great time to be a performance poet. And there are 24 poems here. So again, I'll ask the question 1 through 24. Give me a number.
Uh, two.
Did I hear two? I did hear two. Okay, that's good because one was incredibly long. God, I don't have to do that one. There's two. Here we go. That'll make it easy to read. Oh, yeah, I remember this poem. This was written in 2004, and I think it's kind of self-explanatory. if you remember what was in the news that year. It's called Before We Died. The pictures came out. There was anger in the air. Drivers sped a little faster to get to their rectangular hideouts. Hits to internet movies increased. But I think this has all caused me to finally see what pornography really is. Now, when I get naked with someone, I wonder, where are the hoods, the wires, the dogs, the digital cameras to keep us from revealing how ashamed we are to be just skin in the kingdom made by something other than man? What was the Creator thinking? Is this why we're here? To hope to someday transcend to something beyond this sphere? Is it something to look forward to? Something non-material? Something I cannot see? Something that won't remind me of what beasts we are? Will my spirit inside finally come out? Party because of the release finally coming, and no fluid will be involved, and I will be happy to have moved beyond body into something ethereal and capable of exercising any control over the creatures that remain chained for a while to the damned globe of learning what is really important, that religion and politics were all just exercises in preparation for the true existence, the one that follows this short test, this brief hell that teaches us words for thoughts. And what a shame it would be if all locutions were here to simply become dust. Or possibly that is the intention, that this experiment does not leave this planet. Maybe there is a wisdom to this limited breathing as a
Very
short
nice.
rant.
Very nice.
Thank you. All right. I guess I'll get a little more contemporary now. Now, lately, I haven't been providing links lately. What's wrong with me? Yeah. Why am I not providing links? I should do that with every publication. Well, here are a couple of childish poems. I'm going to read these.
There we go.
Okay, now these two poems are old poems. I definitely wrote them with interesting students in writing poetry. You know, they were like writing ideas
Uh-huh.
that I learned from other people. And these were published recently in the Zizek's Writers Presents podcast. So you make an audio recording of the poem, and they share those in a show. It's like a show, and the hosts say, "Oh, here's a poem by who, and here's a poem by he." You know.
Yeah.
So I sent them these two poems. What was the theme? Spring. So the first poem is called Green. Let me make it a little larger so I can read it. Here we go. And the subtitle is Springtime in Monterey Park, age 7. It's a very famous, simple way to make a poem you might have experienced in school.
Sure.
Green bicycle. Green bicycle rolls. Green bicycle rolls down. Green bicycle rolls down sidewalk. Green bicycle rolls down sidewalk, hits. Green bicycle rolls down sidewalk, hits bump. Green bicycle rolls down sidewalk, hits bump, and green bicycle rolls down sidewalk, hits bump, and green bicycle rolls down sidewalk, hits bump, and I slip. Green bicycle rolls down sidewalk, hits bump, and I slip off. Green bicycle rolls down sidewalk, hits bump, and I slip off seat. Ouch, into crouch. That one got a lot of laughs with kids. And of course, anybody can write a poem like this. You know, all you need is a color. The other one, this is like a solve the mystery of what the object is type poem. Right, so it's like write about the object without saying the actual name of the object. That's the trick.
Okay.
All right, so this poem called Springy. like a snarling panther, like a hand opening and closing, like a mouth with something to say, a puppet moved by the puppeteer. Talk, talk, talk. Any teeth in that? I've got fangs, all right. Watch out, strips of aluminum. The original biter is here. I can't help but be violent. I was created this way. Bite down. Yawn. Punctured slices of dead tree. It makes me squint, fantasizing I'm a snake. But I must really be metal because I can pull out what attaches you, and I sport two tattoos. One on one side is my brand name, Swing Line, and on the other, where I was made, China. So
Nice.
that's a fun little exercise for the kids, make them visualize some object without saying the name of the object. Good challenge.
What grades were you teaching?
Well, I kind of had foot in two different areas there too.
Okay.
I was a high school teacher, but because of my adventures in high school, I also worked in another program called Upward Bound.
Interesting.
And Upward Bound is not a hiking club, okay? People think that's a
No.
hiking thing, but it's not. Upward Bound is a preparatory program for high school students to get them ready for college. And they would come from families where no one had previously gone to college. It's a very worthwhile program.
Yeah.
And the best part of it was they gave me a lot of freedom to
Oh,
do what I
that's
wanted to
nice.
do because they wanted the students to have some offbeat, different experiences, right? Not just boring the 3 R's.
Yeah.
So I remember I told the director of the program back when I interviewed for the job in 1985, I said, I think I can teach grammar with poetry. And of course, he didn't expect those words out of my mouth at all. So he said, well, that sounds crazy enough. We'll let you try. And I ended up working there for 36 summers. It was a summer
Wow.
program. There for 36 summers. So I must have done something right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And part of it, I think, was my enjoyment of poetry came across. And the other part of it was because I could do what I wanted, I would get away with doing some things you couldn't do in regular school. For example, I had guest poets every single day in my class,
Wow. How nice.
every single day. It was like a 5 week program, so you'd have maybe 25 class days. So I would have one, two, maybe three poets a day because it was a 3 hour class. So the last hour would be like the guest poet hour, right? So the kids would really look forward to that. And I made sure they got a taste of as many different poets as I could possibly find that didn't have to work at 10 a.m. on a weekday. Yeah, luckily there are quite a few poets who fit that.
Right, right.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Maybe we got time for a couple more
Sure.
calls. Yeah. I think I'll try to find something newer. That's something I thought I was going to do on that website, but that didn't happen. So I'm going to go to another website that's newer. I have a good friend for about a quarter century now. His name is Marvin Lewis Dorsey. You might know. And he's the inventor of this thing. He calls it a poetic libretto, which is shorter than a chapbook, but longer than a broadside. That's kind of the definition. Well, broadside is usually one poem. Chapbook is maybe 20 pages or more. So he came upon making it 16 pages because that was something that was printable, be folded into like a very short chapter. And so I've been really hooked on that. I've been making those left and right, probably more than anybody he knows. So I'm going to go to that site real quick here because that'll be easy to find. It's poeticlibrettos.com. Oh, before I do that though, no, I already left this. I'll just give you a link to my blog spot.
Okay.
Quick here, in case anybody wants that. Put that in the chat real quick and I can move on. Okay, there you go. That is just how to find what I post. Okay. Now, the website that has the poems that are from the libretto is imaginatively titled Poetic Librettos. Poetic Librettos. .blogspot, which is free. .com. All right, there we go. And I want to share that right away because I don't like to bore viewers too much. So this is that website, poeticlibrettos.blogspot.com. This website's, I guess, been up for 3 years now, almost 4 years. And so people post their librettos here or links to them. And yeah, I've been stingy lately, but here's one where I wasn't stingy. I actually posted it on the website. This is called The View Out. And one of the rules that Marvin has for the poetic librettos, it's got to be lavishly illustrated, like almost every page.
Cool.
He's a great photographer. He's really good at manipulating photographs. And as you can see, I try to do that too. All right, let's get to the poem. This time you get to look at the titles and choose a title that you might be interested in. I'll pick this one from 2017. 13 Ways of Looking at Poppies. It's a really endearing poem to me. 13 Ways of Looking at Poppies. Poppies, 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 poppies. Blown around by the breeze like citizens by politics. If Moses had hiked this hill, he would have said the clusters of orange flames were beautiful signs of God. Walk as a t-shirted giant in the land of the poppies, swaying by the passing wind. Open petals take in the sunny flow of air, fed the feeling of being alive. Shadows pass over the poppies. Shoes temporarily knock flat the poppies. The poppies bounce back up, lifted by the following. The field of orange and yellow and purple brings delightful color to the brown hills, the cloudless blue sky. Kneeling amongst the poppies, get close to pure beauty, fitting right in. Spotted desert brush, enhanced by orange and yellow and purple clumps, such harmony in the variety of colors. The sign says Poppy Festival, April 22nd to 23rd, but it's already here. Bearded and unbearded men stroll, surrounded by poppies, smiles all around. Buds hang together like a group of poppies, grow to love the company. Outside with the wind, dancers sashaying to the music of the breezes, 24 hours every day. Put anything next to a poppy, and it's livened up, a bouquet of flowers and object. So that's a good memory for me when I went to go see the poppies with my two closest poetic comrades, the aforementioned Marvin and Kaloki.
Let me read one of mine to you. I think it's only fair that
Yeah, it's been a one-way street so far. Go ahead.
from time to time, since I've asked so much of you, I will share a little mine with you also. So this is one of my online sites. It's called at newmercurymedia.com. This is a place called Stone Poetry, my next to last book. And this is a poem called Warm Calculations. How much love, how much time, how much warmth allowed to climb over the wide walls of shelf of self? How dare the eyes, indeed the lip, needs the seeds to replace to fill the space between the loves in family time? The subtle balance, slippery climbs, some time for friends. In arguments allure, the natural never whirl. Choices swerve, judgment steps on tentative, representative words, whose ideas hurdle tipsters, tiptoe turtles on weighted, cautious moments. Outside the fence frequents events volcanic, ferments revolt of love, measured, mastered. Cast that play faster. Could we compare to weaving, leaving doves to loves to flowers fine, half-argued choice from child to friend to find, 1,000 billion words, choices heard, without repose of time relent. This soulful pace, replaced with bastard wine, despise, deriding time, decisions erased in human long division, villain time, in tandem tug with spurious space replace, content to tear, arming hearts with alarming arts. Past all metallic strain, electric thumps hide the signing sighs in tearful throated lumps. Web soft embrace, dewy prisms paint, green leaves in light. Wild heart, starting, smile, delight, weigh the hours on thine eyes' tender scales. The whales of depart art, weigh the hours, count the blooded hours, alone unphoned peace, counting time, ridiculous, sublime, of wasted water, tasted, running down danger's cheeks, uncobbled, clouded, downcast lane, wasted moments, monuments to independent moods, in brewed pitch, the scalding broth, the sloth's sad plight, indeed schism. Indecision's muddy mirror, count the time's hurtled corpse reclined, measured, mastered, time, the wild and woolly miles of wiles, treasured kisses, breakout blisses, thundered caress yearning, the sky is burning by memories aflame. What was the name? Balanced by the greater graphs of past? Calculators barely scratch my memory sleeve, yet I grieve in caught, catching, wrenching wet wretches, choice chance to dance the waltz of shadowed romance, mental waves wash over graves of history's mystery. Mental waves wash over graves of history's mystery. Mental waves wash over graves of history's mystery. Ring round a royal relativity of life. Remember the ritual brother's virtual wife. Echo the favorite uncle's strife. Cancel the baby brother's new lover's clover wife. That's an old one.
Yeah, it's a good one to perform.
Thank you.
All right, like I said, deadline's midnight tonight on the car poems.
Ah.
And scroll down to my latest poem. This is the first poem I've written about my new habitat.
Ah. Yes, congratulations on your new place.
Yeah, it was an arduous journey to get here.
Yeah, there's nothing to teach you like moving that non-attachment furthers.
Oof, yes, yeah. I heard it's one of the 5 greatest traumas in life. Moving.
Yeah. Well, I'm a
Artist.
subscriber to the Zen school that letting go and being here now are the keys to those kind of matters.
That really is useful to do. Yeah, so I tried to do that. And luckily, where we moved, we've got a nice view out the backyard. There's
Nice.
no house behind us. That's nice.
Nice.
And then something unexpected happened. That's what this poem is about.
Ah.
This poem is called Walela. You perch on an exposed branch of the otherwise bountiful orange tree, with hanging green orbs abounding. You stand to feel the flow of air over your small body, wings taken in, ready to instantaneously flitter high speed to the nearest pink buttercup flower, puckered up on a string of leafy vine, swaying in the chaparral morning wind. When hot afternoon comes, you are nowhere. Inside some thicket of enormous arbor, nearby in the backyard of a neighbor's house. I sit on the porch, shaded by overhanging painted white wood featuring rollable bamboo sunshades, blocking out direct shine, slatted, and welcome your presence every daytime as I spoon fresh oatmeal my wife cooked all the while rejoicing in our time together. So it's a very happy poem about a hummingbird.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
Walela is Cherokee for hummingbird.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah,
Didn't know that.
yeah. So I call the hummingbird Walela, and she's there every morning.
Nice.
Yeah, we have our breakfast out in the patio because we don't have a dining table yet.
One of the funniest experiences I ever had as a poet was, I write on a lot of scientific topics and I try to add some humor in them. I was working as the head of a drafting department, running the computer systems there. And one of the engineers was really, really a fan. He really liked my work. He thought I was hilarious. And he said to me, "What would you think if I got you in touch with Johnny Carson?" And this is the early 80s. And I said, "Oh, sure. I'm sure he books poets all the time." And he said, "Well, here's the letter." He actually had written to the Carson show, sent poems that I'd given him, and they wanted to talk to me. So
Yeah.
I give him a call. It said to call him. The fellow I talked to said, "Here's what we'd like you to do. We'll throw words at you, and you make a poem out of it." Now, and I know, that poetry, concrete, free form, free verse, whatever you want to call it, who the hell couldn't string 20 words together? Now, will it be amusing? Will it be entertaining? I said, you see what I do. I write thoughtful pieces with some humor about serious topics. That's what I do. If you like my work, that's what you like, not performing monkey catches words, builds a sentence out of 20 words. That's not what I do. Well, that's
Yeah,
what
they
we
want
want
they
you to do.
want Frank Zappa with a bicycle, right? That's what they want. Yeah.
They wanted,
If you,
some crazy freak, And I
yeah.
said, "I'm not interested." It wasn't, I don't desire fame. I don't need notoriety. What I do is I write, and with any luck, I help other writers. That's what I love. So I turned him down, and the engineer's listening to this conversation. He goes, "You turned down Carson?" I go, "They want what I don't do.
Yeah.
It's that simple." May I read you one more, my friend?
Of course, of course.
This is another very serious poem. It's called Non-Disposable World. Oh, I have to preface this by saying a friend of mine said, "Rick, you write really well, but damn, man, you're so pessimistic." So I wrote this in response.
Hmm.
Picture it. A world without thermonuclear overkill. Bomb lost its thrill? It will. It will. Picture it. A world after all the bombs are gone. Too far, Mon? Bomb lost its thrill? It will. It will. Picture it. A world not holding its breath at the edge of death, the toxic waste, the chemical taste of food. In money only good. Bomb lost its thrill? It will. It will. Picture it. No mad generals with pointing digit poised, ears pinned, filled with noise of shouts of doubts. Bomb lost its thrill? It will. It will. Picture it. A world after the end of biological weapons that fools would send, threaten. Bomb lost its thrill? It will. It will. Picture it. No fanatic, dramatic, climactic climate war. No inversions or floods or earthquake cone crunch. Too much heat then or dry. No clouds in the sky. No rain with lunch. Bomb lost its thrill? It will. It will. Picture it. No ray guns in space. No thistly whistly missiles to bless the stratosphere torn, or hot heads wind down, burn after space war. For afterthought, it had meant quite a lot. Bomb lost its thrill? It will. It will. Picture it. The bombs gone. The missiles dismissal. The sub decommissioned. No reactors out fishing. Picture it. The control boards turned off. Did I hear a scoff? Bomb lost its thrill? It will. It will.
I got a poem on that topic.
Please do, sir.
I'm amazed they published this. It's such a pessimistic poem. It's called Start Over. Sometimes I feel like a bored dog in a fenced yard waiting for his master. Better than being a squashed bug on a speeding windshield, ultimately wiped off. Reproduction, the only way to point toward immortality for possibly hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of years, until the great collision of expanding sun and earth, followed by the formation of the Andromeda anyway. No one sees the universe populated by black holes, dissipating to nothingness and the extinguishing of light.
I wrote this. It's called My Support Stegosaurus. I need my special support Stegosaurus. The political news informs us. The plates on his back protect us all from attack. Those sharpened spikes on his tail protect us without fail. His cranium's thinneth. It's useful for getting ineth, slipping in under doorways into meetings which we wouldn't otherwise be seeneth. But the thing I contest, and sure you cannot stretching distendeth old Steggy is leggy, and the plates on his spine will gently no doubt poke and prod your mind, with their glimmery, shimmery shineth, like a goblet of the finest claret or some other such wineth. Can you bear it, munching slowly his savory salad, easing all lethargy, erasing and ministering to each misery mine, perhaps with a ballad? Names, claims, sure not in mime. Mr. Steggy is leggy and hard to refuse, like a demon of demolition with a deltaphonic ironical blues. BB and Elon studied with him, so dashingly devastating and debonair, and betwixt us both, sure to win and clear the air. So,
That
sir,
really did clear the air.
how would you like to end with this?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard to choose. That's why I
Sure.
usually let people pick a number, because it's so hard to choose. I love my children, all of them, in different ways.
Yeah.
I got the foot in the spoken word, and I got the foot in the page. I try to do both. Sometimes I succeed. But are you willing to pick a number just without even
Oh,
looking at the
sure.
titles?
69.
59, right?
69.
69. Okay.
Human minds, dead snakes.
Yeah, it was published in Dead Snakes.
Okay.
That's what that means. Every poem's a story, how it was created, all that jazz.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
I could go on and on. All right, 69, there it is. Well, this is
Human
kind of the poem
minds.
I was looking for to begin with, man. Talk about serendipity. This is the poem I wanted to share with you
Well, there
on the
we
same
go.
topic.
The
So
gods
that's
are
pretty
smiling.
special. Yeah. It's called Human Minds, a title I had totally forgotten. A world without the bomb. Now, wouldn't that be something? Maybe then we'd get rid of the rockets and missiles too. But it would take the removal of rifles and guns to produce a fundamental return back to swords and knives, unless an alien came down to melt it all down. Hell, we'd rise up, stones and sticks in our hands, even sans trees, fists would still overrule. Taking away bodies would leave only worlds behind for the universe to merrily corrode out of existence. I think that sums up the universe rather well. Yeah.
Bravo. And now the last thing I'm going to ask of you, my friend, is
You
what message do you have for our fellow poets?
Hey, publish your poetry. Let people see it. Don't just keep it to yourself. Is that too straightforward?
No, that's great.
Yeah,
That's
I
great.
just know too many people, they don't have enough confidence in their work, and they really need to realize we're all individuals. So all our work will be different. That's what
Well,
makes it so special.
I actually
Mhm.
have a really nice story to tell about that very exact thing. I moved to Tennessee 6 years ago,
Mm.
Down the street, we have some very fine neighbors, an elderly couple, and we were talking one day, and I explained to them that I connect with poets across the globe. We get together multiple times each week, and we share our poetry. And this lovely, lovely woman, is 79 years old, says to me, she's been writing since she was a little girl and never, ever shared them with anybody, except occasionally she would write a card for a friend or a family member. But she's never shared any of her work in public. And I said, please come to one of these open mics, sit with me here. And we connected to Scotland one time. We connected to Paris one time. We connected to a Chicago poetry group. And she said to me, I think I could read. And so she read at Finn Hall's Blot from the Blue in Scotland. And they were so kind and so generous, as poets so often are. She decided, by gum, she was going to publish a book of her poetry. So this woman, who had poems collected over a lifetime, saw her work collected in a book.
Doesn't get better than that. That's great.
It was an honor to help her, as I know you have helped so many get their work in print. Thank you for being the generous soul that you are. You see, to me, it's one thing to be a poet and share your heart, to share your thoughts, to share your vision. That's a wonderful thing right there. But when you
Mm.
facilitate other poets, when you take your time to help them get their work across, get their work to a broader audience, that's a special gift, my friend. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Well, Don, thank you so much for joining me. It has been a pleasure and an honor to have you here at Poets of the East. And to me, I don't know if I told you this, but to me, every poet is a sunrise, every poet is a star. So therefore, you are the East when you're here.
Yeah.
You have a good night and a good day, brother.
Thank you again for this opportunity.
It's been a pleasure. And I will certainly entertain any recommendations you make of other West Coast poets that I haven't met yet, and we'll get them here on to Poets of the East.
Fantastic. Will do.
Have a good night, brother. Bye bye.